This week's hidden hero inadvertently had a lot of lessons to teach thanks to two unrelated and profound experiences. Eddie Conyers is quite the character, but if you read between the lines, he has a lot to say about teamwork, being one among many, and doing the right thing.
Who's that young fellow right there?
Meet Samuel E. Conyers III.
I'm not trying to be uppity with saying the third, but there are two others. Of course, they're not as good looking as me. But
with an opening line like that, you might think you know everything you need to know about Eddie.
A lot of people think I look like Brad Pitt, but I don't know.
I first met Eddie in Washington, D.C.
Well, that's impressive.
I was covering his honor flight, the first one out of Tuscaloosa, where World War II and Korean War veterans were invited to visit their memorials. Eddie is a veteran of both wars.
I was a radioman. I can spell your name in code.
He served in the Navy. Before that, the furthest away he'd ever been was Fort Payne, Alabama.
Oh, very proud of it, very proud of it, very proud. You're right, not boastful. I don't mean that at all, because millions of others were in there too, but I'm proud of it, that I could do it.
He says his time serving actually helped him pay for tuition at the University of Alabama, where Eddie started another chapter.
That's the '92 National Championship.
Eddie started officiating Bama football practices back in 1961 with Coach Bear Bryant.
But his rationale was, let's have an official at practice. If we get penalties, let's get on a practice field rather than a game.
He just didn't know he was going to still be doing it at 90 years old.
So happy birthday, man.
Coach, I appreciate it.
From the whole team.
I can't think of anybody deserves it more than me. Statistically, if you'll gain, say, 300 yards in offense, you'll have roughly 70 yards in penalties. Alabama would gain 300 yards in offense, have 20 yards in penalties. Well, that's 50 yards you pick up simply by doing the right thing.
Doing the right thing. It's a concept that is carried through all of the chapters of Eddie's life. And through all of his experiences, he has continued to learn and grow, just like the players he now watches over.
Somebody help me!
Keeps him young.
But it's really gratifying to see guys come in here, they're the all-stars at their high school, and all of a sudden, they're just one among many. And how they have to adjust to that. And I've seen so many of them come in with a real kind of a I'm better than you attitude, then realize, well, I'm just one of many, and they improve themselves on that, and they come out better people.
As you saw there, Eddie Conyers turned 90 last week, and the team celebrated with a big cake and that jersey with the number 90 on it. By now, you probably know his story. Anthony Ray Hinton was actually in our studio earlier this week talking about his new memoir and the decades that he spent on death row before being exonerated in 2015. Through it all, Hinton has shown heroism in unexpected ways, but so has a close friend who stood by him for 30 years when so many others called him a murderer. It might sound strange to say a man once convicted of murder who spent 30 years on death row is a hero. But the heroics of Anthony Ray Hinton surface between the lines, unintended and unscripted.
I knew I was there for something that I didn't do, and it didn't bother me that some of those guys actually did what they did, but they still deserve compassion.
Hinton was determined to make the best of his situation and share that with others.
You know, things are not good, and you know, say what they will, man, they're not good, but you couldn't tell it through him.
What better way to escape harsh reality a little than by convincing the warden to let him start a book club?
I can't even describe to this day the excitement that each one of those men told what they got out of the book, and it hit me. If someone had cared enough to keep these men in school, perhaps they wouldn't be where they are today. We're willing to spend $2 million to execute a man, but we only pay our school teacher $35,000 and $40,000 to teach them, and we don't care.
Armed with grace, Hinton made some unlikely connections on death row. One, a former Klansman who, on the night of his execution, reportedly said,
"My mother and my father taught me to hate. The very people that my parents taught me to hate are the very people that taught me love. And tonight I leave this world knowing what true love feels like."
Speaking of friends, you may have noticed this man sitting behind Hinton throughout our whole interview. He is Lester Bailey, Hinton's closest friend since childhood.
The guards and everybody knew him, and everybody was just amazed how he stuck by me.
When others were convinced Hinton was guilty,
1,000,001 dead. They believed it. You know, they said there's no way that they could convict him if it wasn't true.
Bailey visited and called often, never questioning his friend's innocence, and in his own words, crying like a baby the day of his release.
And if you have a friend, be a friend. The Bible said to have a friend, you must show yourself friendly. And if you are a true friend, you will stick through them through thick and thin.
Hinton's creation of a death row book club, well, that's heroic. His perspective in the face of injustice, his lack of bitterness, that's heroic. Lester Bailey's loyalty when many others turned their backs, that's heroic. And Hinton's grace and compassion that continues to spread and inspire today, heroic.
If you want to learn more about Anthony Ray Hinton's story, his conviction and exoneration, we've got so much more on our website. And check out his memoir that's available right now, The Sun Does Shine, How I Found Life and Freedom on Death Row. Thanks, Michelle. In this week's Hidden Heroes, we will attempt to honor more than 100 people by featuring two. These two, a husband and wife, are the epitome of what this incredible story is about. Love, unbelievable human kindness, and second chances.
This story really starts on December 5th, 2013, but we're going to pick it up here, somewhere near the middle, with Barbara Graybeal.
All right, and tell me who this guy is next to you as well.
This is love of my life. This is Mark.
The Graybeals are in town from Scottsboro for treatments at UAB. Barbara had diabetes for many years, but in 2015...
Yeah, chronic kidney disease, stage 3. I was wondering what happened to 1 and 2 at that point, but anyway, I had 3.
In 2016, it became end-stage renal disease.
There's just a big parenthesis in your life.
And she went on dialysis.
You're in a room full of sometimes very, very sick people. And probably during the first 6 months or year that I was there were probably around 10 people that died.
Is that scary?
It's sad.
Mark wanted to give his wife a kidney, but he wasn't a tissue match. That's when they learned about the hospital's incompatible kidney transplant program.
And then, oh, I'm not going to cry. He will cry. Oh, I'm good at this. So he came in the bedroom and started to tell me. He said my coordinator called, and that's about all he could tell me because he's Mr. Tenderheart. And so he got a few words out. I'm sure there must be a tissue around here someplace if you need them.
Do you need one?
Through the program, Barbara would be getting a kidney from a stranger, and Mark would still be donating one. His kidney would just be going to a stranger.
We didn't talk a whole lot after that. We both just sat down on the bed and hugged and cried for a while.
On July 19th, Barbara got her kidney. On July 20th, Mark donated his without hesitation.
Well, I was giving it to her. Me doing that.
Wow, you think you get past this after it's over and you don't. You're a good guy.
The Graybeal story sounds like some kind of wonderful anomaly. But this is Paula King. She's from right down the road in Pelham. Back in 2013, she approached UAB about donating her kidney to someone in need. Thing is, she didn't know anyone in need. Still, King's gift kickstarted something unexpected, a chain of kidney donations. Sometimes donors joined the chain in honor of a friend or family member who received a kidney. But sometimes, like Paula, they donated simply to give a complete stranger a new lease on life. Barbara is actually the 100th person to receive a kidney, thanks to what has now become the largest single-site kidney chain in the nation.
That is such, I don't know what makes somebody do that other than they love people.
And Mark has actually met the person, or the son of the person who has received his kidney, his mother. And the son actually just said thank you. He is also a donor.